back and bigger than ever. It's the unofficial 40 from SoonerScoop.com. Now, here's the entire SoonerScoop crew. Carrie, Josh, Eddie, and Bob.
All right, we are back. It is the unofficial 40 podcast right here on SoonerScoop.com. And appreciate Eddie filling in last week for me. He tried to sabotage the studio, apparently, by putting a virus in the desktop, so I could never host again, but that's fine.
I don't think that that's on me. I think that's somebody else.
All right.
It could just be...
You were in this chair last week. That's all I'm saying. Nobody else was.
Well, I mean, that was 6 days ago, though. I don't know. You've sat there since.
That's a complicated virus to put a 7-day timer on it.
I'm sure that it's one of those... I think there's probably something more extracurricular involved here, and it's probably all of the information gathering that you've been doing over the last 6 days and trying to keep your president out of jail, 45. I'm sure that this has to do something with the indictment that came down yesterday. Innocent.
Hashtag
innocent.
The virus that was meant for Stormy, it was accidentally unleashed on my computer is what you're saying?
Yes, possibly.
Anyway, is it Stormy or Storm? Anyway.
I think whore is the right.
Oh, that's a nice play. You're single. You can own it. It's fine.
No, I'm not pretending. I watch porn. Hey, I'm not, there's no
we'll clip that.
Not trying to hide anything here.
What a start.
Hello, Mrs. Stoya. How are you?
I was about to say my mom is going to love this episode.
I mean, my God, I'm a grown man. I could admit to watching porn if I want to. It's not like it's sickness. It's not like I would do it here in the office.
Christ is risen on Sunday, too.
Yeah, I know. It's Easter Sunday. Sorry, moms.
Allegedly.
I'm only apologizing to Karen because she supports us financially.
That's right. That's right. We got the softball shirts hit the Facebook. I saw my cousin up in Wisconsin. That's a big OU softball fan. She was very thankful for the package that we sent up there.
Oh, very nice.
I was afraid to take pictures of people in them because I didn't know they wanted to be on social media. But if you see me this weekend and you want to take a picture, I'll gladly do it. We'll get it out there.
Beautiful.
So, yeah, go hit up Bob Prisbillo, Bobby Alphabet, as he's called on the boards, and he will take a picture with you, and we'll post it on SoonerScoop. So, there you go. Yeah, we're glad. Or send us your pictures. We'd love to retweet those or tag us in your post on Instagram or Twitter. It's all SoonerScoop everywhere. But no, we are right at $10,000 in total sales. It has gone fantastic. We're like at 325, I think, total sold, but we haven't even really promoted it that much.
Sure.
On Facebook and things like Instagram. And so we'll be doing that coming up here with the next batch, but still in stock. I will say some sizes are getting a little low. So you want to make sure and go to SoonerScoopStore.com and order your Sleep, Eat, Run, Rule, Repeat. And, of course, last weekend, it helped a lot. We'll get into that some more. But outside of that, it is time for our Enjoy Vision, fresh perspective look around as, let's go back to softball because it was, I thought, just really a fun weekend. I mean, I was, we were out at the football practice the other day. I was talking to Patrick, the SID for softball, and it was just like, what a fun weekend that was. I mean, like, that guy's working his ass off, so if he's having fun, it was really fun. But just the Mike White made it a great, rivalry again with the accusations, and he can say he didn't accuse Patty Gasso of anything. We all know he did. He
insinuated, maybe.
It was an accusatory insinuation. How about that? But no, I mean, and Patty was obviously pissed off about it. I mean, I know the administration was pissed off about it. But for the Sooners to me, the highlight was Saturday, going in to the bottom of the seventh, down 3-1 and to win it 4-3. And then you finally get the run rule on Sunday, which Bob, in the crowds, unbelievable crowds.
Fantastic crowds. They went for the record. They destroyed it. 8,930 people in Oklahoma City Friday night. Just a wave of emotion and great atmospheres. And I know Patty didn't want to say it was a measuring stick series, but man, she's got to be feeling really good about where they stand at this point in the season.
Well, I got to think Patty probably doesn't love those T-shirts because she wants competition in close games. Like, she doesn't want to run rule. They don't get anything out of it. But I would say that was a series of top 10 teams. How did Texas fall? How far did they fall?
They didn't drop it all.
Okay.
That's the respect OU has to, you get swept. They stayed at number 9.
So, but yeah, I mean, it was a good, and really, I thought, after that Friday night game, that the bats were they had the big hits from Haley Lee, and who else had did Grace Lyons have a home run?
TRA had
a home run.
She was the national player of the week for what she was able to do.
I mean, outside of those big home runs, I didn't think they looked like they were struggling a little bit throughout the lineup offensively, and then the bats really got going by the time the weekend was over. And it's hard to say. I mean, Oklahoma, you're used to the best offenses and historically anybody's ever seen in the sport of softball. But for the dominant team as we think Oklahoma is, I just think that them facing different pitchers all the time kind of screwed with their momentum a little bit on offense.
What they talked Saturday with what Mac Morgan was able to do, they just overthought the process way too much, and then Sunday they went back to basics, and really no one, I don't know, outside of OU, who's got the pitching staff to go Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Like OU can't. Storako, Jordy Ball, Nicole May. Texas was just, okay, let's throw Mac back out there. Let's throw Simpson back. And she had nothing. It's like few teams can go toe-to-toe all 3 days. You might get them one, but it's just really hard to be that competitive with OU for all 3 games.
Yeah, and I think that Iowa State series was ridiculous because that was every half inning they were changing pitchers almost. I mean, it was maddening. So, Texas Tech coming up this weekend. It's an important weekend for anyone that wanted to get out and see the Sooners because it's the last time they'll be home for a long time.
A couple weeks, yeah. I mean, this is one of the final series of the regular season. I mean, it's Thursday through Saturday because of Easter weekend. So, but yeah, it's. I'm very curious to see what they do Thursday after such an emotionally draining. I mean That's just going to be hard to come down from. So very curious to see what that first night game is going to look like.
All right, continue our enjoy fresh perspective, look around. I mean, we've been to practice now 3 times for viewing habits. I mean, I went twice because I was sick last week, but it's awesome. I mean, kudos to you, Brent Venables, for giving us so much access. But I know we were all out there kind of. There's an area of the field where they have the defensive backs and the linebackers and the defensive tackles. It's not always the easiest area to get to, so you early on you focus more on the receivers and the running backs, but I think we all kind of spent a good amount of time watching the linebackers this week, and some of you guys, I think some were watching the defensive backs, but George, let's start with you, kind of your impressions, and obviously the Jovantae Barnes situation. But your impressions from the viewing this week.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the first thing that you noticed was Jovantae out there on the scooter with the boot on. We don't really know what the situation is there. Hoping to talk to Brent maybe later today, so maybe we'll get an update there. But yeah, I spent a lot of time over there watching the linebackers, mostly because I just wanted to see kind of Brent in his element and kind of be that intense coach that you hear about a lot. But that's also a group that, and I know we'll get into it a little bit later, but that's a group that really I think has high expectations when you talk about a Danny Stutzman obviously, but the expectations of Kanak and obviously Kobe McKenzie I think looks like one of the best players out there right now. So it was really cool to be over there for that. I think the safety position's another one. They were over there working. Billy Bowman looks incredible. Reggie Pearson's a guy. I think Bob put out a clip of him tackling the dummy. I mean, he's a physical dude. So it was good to be over there. And then, obviously the guys up front, I think that's where a big question mark is on that defense is, can they create some pressure and watching guys like Trace Ford, R. Mason Thomas, Adibare, those kind of guys, who can be the leaders of that group. So yeah, I mean, the viewing periods are great. I know that sometimes it gets old and, we talked about this last week about everybody looks great in the spring, but it is nice to be out there and see some of the things going on and also, see which guys might be banged up.
Yeah, and Eddie, I mean, you obviously doing the sights and sounds after every viewing. I mean, you kind of get to replay it a little bit too, what you see. That's kind of a different perspective than the rest of us have. But kind of what were your main impressions from practice on Monday?
I mean, probably just starting out with the linebacker group. I mean, I think that's kind of where you start with the defense and how important that group's going to be for
Phil Pacciotti's a man, by the way.
Yeah,
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
like that group physically looks so much different than they have in the past, even though that there's some holdovers from the last couple years. But when you look at if they're going in that threes type of I guess look or whatever through the workout, it's kind of exciting to see like what Jaren Kanak, Kobe McKenzie, Danny Stutzman look like, and then you get Justin Harrington, who looks great right now. We talked to him. I know it's like it's the telltale sign that spring is here. That we're talking about Justin Harrington, but he does look good. He looks great physically. Dasan
He looks
McCullough,
good in linebacker drills. I mean, just change of direction, all that stuff.
Picciotti looks good. It just that entire group, it kind of gives you hope for what this defense could be. And as George said, I think that there is a lot of questions about who's going to be that guy in the middle. Derek LeBlanc looks really good right now, but to think that he's going to be able to step in and just be a guy, I probably would not be ready to say that next season. So, I like that defensive end group too. They look good physically, especially with adding the two guys that they did through the portal and Trace Ford and Rondell Bothroyd. They both look the part. Now it's about what they can actually do once a Saturday rolls around.
Yeah, and speaking of defensive ends, I mean, Josh, we all know and what a problem that was of just kind of losing the edge last year. And I think regardless of what you get out of Trace Ford from a pass rushing standpoint, he is not going to let people fold him inside and just destroy the edge and allow people to do whatever they want in the run game. It is going to be real. And Bothroyd, you might kind of say the same thing, but I think Adebawore is a guy that it's going to take him some time. We're going to see flashes. He's probably a guy. I could see him, Josh, being a guy that is almost a third down specialist early in the year.
Well, I wonder a little bit, do they use both he and Ford that way? Because I keep thinking of Ford on almost like a pitch count. Like, they're going to have to, with all his injury history and all his, problems, like, do they find a way, like, okay, 3rd and 7, we're going to have Trace on the field, or we're going to try to keep him off on 1st and 10, just try to limit when he is on the field and try to, and again, you can only manage that to so much of a degree, but I think both he and Adebawore are very interesting in that potential role. And I think you're exactly right that Ford and Bothroyd, for the very same reasons that you worry about Adebawore, just his inexperience, his still developing strength, him kind of filling out that frame, those guys are ready. Like, they know, like you just said, I don't know what the pass rush is going to be yet. I'm not convinced that problem is solved. But I think in run defense, they'll be clearly better because the edge is not going to just be a turnstile anymore. Like they're going to have the ability to slow people down on the corner.
Yeah, and Bob, I think you look at I don't know how much you saw this. I know George and I were talking about this out there, but just the intensity of Brent Venables. I mean,
Yes.
People talk about Ted Roof and being a position coach or defensive coordinator. Like, there's no confusing the fact that Brent Venables is coaching the linebackers out there. Right? Like, he might as well just be the linebackers position coach.
And now he's got James Skalski to
And
go with
Skalski,
him.
is out there just going nuts too.
Younger version of him, as Kobe told us last week. But yeah, it is fun just to watch Brent be a coach because, as much as all the head coach responsibilities that have nothing to do with football, when he gets a chance to just be on the field and do what he loves, and you can see just how those guys respond to that and how, there's no place to hide when Brent's out there. You need to bring your best, and Dasan McCullough was talking about how he wouldn't want it any other way. I mean, this is a way to make your name, to make a big impression, is to show up and show out when Brent is actually watching you go through those drills.
This is the time that you want that, though, isn't it? Like, during the spring, it really doesn't matter.
I loved it. I mean, it was awesome.
Is going to be that, quote unquote head coach. Obviously, it matters come Saturday in about 5 months on the decisions that come in game. But
I mean, I will say this.
I just don't know if you can turn it on and turn it off, and that's going to be interesting here going into his second season.
I think this was kind of discussion George and I have, and I think it's George, you coming from covering the NFL, where the head coach you would never see an NFL head coach doing something like that. Like, it was just like he is in his ivory tower during practice. I mean, like, he is lording over his manner. He might be talking to his assistants and things like that, but I think you kind of question, I think, okay, that's a weird thing for a head coach to be doing. Is this guy a good head coach? Yeah,
and I think that's where and we kind of had like a doomsday pod on our own in the war room this week about all the things that could go wrong with this football team. But that's just kind of my question is, like, Brent's out there saying the right things, coaching the right things. I think, I mean, I'm not going to pretend I'm some expert when it comes to linebacker coaching, but he seems to be doing all those right things. It's just like, but does he know when to call the timeouts right and do things like that? But like, what I was going to bring up is, I think something that's going to really help them, at least watching practice and watching James Skalski out there, is, last year Ted Roof was in the box. He's usually the linebackers coach, right? Mm-hmm. With Brent. Brent was obviously trying to manage the game and coach the defense at the same time. Having a guy like Skalski on the sidelines that can go over, after the defense comes off the field and talk to those guys, I think it's going to be a huge help. And maybe it takes some of that pressure off of Brent during games, because it felt like, at least watching on TV last year, that there was a lot of times that he was in the defensive huddle while the offense was out there. There wasn't, he was not always in tune with the management of the game. And that's where my biggest question with, Brent lies right now is, I think he's recruiting the right players. I think he's teaching the right things in practice. But we saw it time and again last year in games where the management wasn't great. And if it was a little bit better, maybe they win a couple more games, right? So that's where we're kind of my question is we're seeing it on the field. We're seeing that intensity, which is great. But what does that look like on Saturdays?
Well, I think, that is interesting from the standpoint of, if you are, as much as he was in the defensive huddle, when you're doing that and you're involved in that, you don't know, time around you is like, it just flows. Like, you have no idea how long you've been in that huddle. So I'm sure there were times when he's like turning around and like, okay, we got to punt. Like, defense has to go back out. He probably didn't even realize it was a 3 and out. Like, right. Just like, it's one of those things. Like, yeah, I think now that they're in the second year that, people understand the defense better. He doesn't have to spend that much time, because eventually he can't. You're right. I don't believe that he's going to be a success as a head coach if he can't eventually separate himself from being that guy.
I think that's also a reason why he's brought on, several former head coaches. I mean, obviously, I know Ted Roof has had, not the greatest history as a head coach, but he was a head coach. You bring in, obviously, Matt Wells last year. You bring in Seth Luttrell, who I think is going to be a huge benefit for Jeff Lebby and what they're doing offensively. So I think all those aspects, you bring in a guy like Skalski, who he clearly trusts. I mean, I tweeted out that video of him having Skalski show. I mean, he's pretty much the linebackers coach when you watch practice. I think bringing in people like that he can trust to go do those things so he can, use his time elsewhere on game days, I think is going to be valuable for them.
It is super interesting to me, like, how much say, were we talking about this last week maybe? Like, how much say does a Matt Wells or a Seth Luttrell have? Not necessarily in game plan, but like, how much does Brent, I guess, lean on those guys for ideas and things throughout the week? And, just as far as I don't know about necessarily managing a game, because I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but there has to be conversations like that during the offseason when they're looking in the mirror and saying what we could have done better, like what that looks like.
I think that's a good question, for him today, because...
Are we talking to him today?
Supposed to.
We're supposed to talk to him today.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because the reason I say that is because really it's up to him how much he leans on those guys, because Matt Wells and Seth Luttrell, it's not their job to tell him how to do his job.
Sure.
Like, he's going to have to be the one to reach out to them, say, hey, I need help with this. I need you to do this or that. Like, that's delegation, but it's just the way it is. Like, the boss has to be the one to come to the people that work for him to say it's okay to do things that are supposed to be my job, basically.
Yeah, and I don't know. It seems like the more of those types of guys that you could get it on staff or within the program, in whatever capacity it is, the more that you would want. Like, I think it's almost a little bit of a win that they're getting a second run at Matt Wells right now. I kind of figured that he was going to be the head coach at Tulsa, or he was going to go off and do something else. And just keeping him within the program, I think, is probably a good thing. And then obviously bringing in somebody like Seth, I think that, George, kind of what you insinuated, just what he's going to be able to do and kind of combining knowledge with Jeff Lebby, I think will be a massive, massive win. Because at the end of the day, Seth Luttrell, we aren't too far removed from him being the biggest name out there.
Yeah. And I think it's one of those things too. I mean, those guys can't talk, during games, right? I don't think, right? They can't have headsets on, or they're not able to coach players on the sideline, I don't think.
Correct.
Of course.
I think you have a couple of extra headsets that can be on.
Okay.
I know Matt Wells had one at one time last year.
You don't have to be a full-time assistant to have a headset.
Well, then that's even better.
But it is limited to a certain number. I think it's 14 maybe or something like that.
Yeah, but I think even during the week, obviously those guys are going to help. I mean, having Luttrell, in the quarterback room or wherever it is, will obviously benefit those guys.
It'll be interesting to see if I imagine he'll sit next to Lebby during games. I don't know. Maybe he's down on the field.
Because who's going to be on the guy on the field? Is that
I would think he wants Seth on
missing?
The field.
Yeah,
the offensive go-between kind of.
I've thought it's interesting that he spends quite a bit of time in the time that we've been out there with the quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. And it's probably because he can see well. I don't know if he would need LASIK, but I know that there's a lot of people that do. Like you, Bob. I could get you LASIK. How about that? With Enjoy Vision. It's the best laser vision center in Oklahoma City. Not even close. Combination of mind-blowing technology, experienced eyeball surgeons, and exceptional patient care, which was life-changing for me because I went in basically blind and I left about 2.5, 3 hours later, 2 volumes up and, basically being able to see through a brick wall.
You stole the second one.
That's between me and the nurse, and I signed an NDA, and we cannot speak of it anymore. But the good thing for you, the unofficial 40 listener, is you can get $400 off LASIK. All you need to go do is go to enjoywithme.com. That is the letter N, Joy, withme.com. Use promo code U40, $400 off. Enjoy Vision. This is where you LASIK.
We thank them for being a part of it and the Enjoy Vision fresh perspective look around each and every week on the podcast. I think we do have practice to cover today. Guys, I don't know. I mean, this might be a discussion that, is kind of something a little inside baseball. But like now you're, what are we, 6 media opportunities? 7? 6?
We had one with Brent that wasn't a practice, but this would be like the 6th one for a practice.
Who has been the most insightful guy that you've talked to so far this spring?
Ooh. I thought Kobe McKenzie was pretty damn good. His name just continues to come up just as far as not just what you see physically and what we've been able to see during the viewing sessions, but it seems like that light is really starting to come on. Things are becoming easier. He understands where he needs to be in the defense. I don't know. It seems like Bob, I know that you tweeted out a video of him this morning, and Deshaun White commented on it for everybody to buy up all the stock that you possibly can. He's one of those guys that, and I think somebody asked in one of the threads on the board, just as far as like who has been the most impressive that we've been able to see. And without a doubt, it's Kobe McKenzie for me. Yeah,
I mean, what he needed to do when the season ended, he's done exactly that. He's leaned up. Now he's stronger. He's faster. He mentions his head isn't spinning around anymore. He understands what they're asking him to do with the defense. So it's been great to sort of see the light bulb come on there. To answer the question, it's always DJ Graham.
That's what I was going to say.
He's like the best person to talk. Him and Jaden Davis. Like, if you ever need a pick-me-up, those are the guys you go to. They'll make you feel really good about yourself because they're just fantastic guys to speak with about football or other matters. It's just, it remains to be seen what DJ's role is going to be, but anytime we get a chance to talk with him, we'll definitely take advantage of that.
I would also say Andrew Rame. I thought he was really interesting. I think that was last week that we spoke with him.
Yeah, it was.
Definitely a confident guy in what he thinks they can do up front. And that's obviously an interesting group because they're going to have to piece together some things, and you have some names that you feel really good about, right? Like you feel really good about Guyton, you feel really good about Savion Byrd, Walter Rouse. We just haven't seen a lot of them play a ton of football, and so there's some question marks there. But I thought that I think he had a line like, we're just going to put a bunch of people on their asses this year, and so you love to hear that from an offensive lineman. I am interested to hear from. We haven't spoken to Bill Beatenbow yet. Or Todd Bates. Those are two assistants we haven't spoken to. And obviously, Bill will be very blunt with us and tell us that they're not any good yet. But that'll be fun to listen to.
Breaking news, Grant Sherfield is entering the draft. I'll step away for a couple minutes.
What draft? What the NBA draft? The NBA draft, or is he going to fight for Ukraine?
It doesn't even say he's entering the portal. It says we just had Jalen Hill put his portal thing. I don't know if you guys saw that in the last 2 minutes.
He said he's declaring for the NBA draft too, Jalen Hill.
Yeah, but he says and portal. He's putting his name in the portal. Sure, Grant just posted he's putting his name in the draft, and that's it.
Okay. Well, best of luck.
He's got a better chance than Jalen Hill.
Sure. We can get to the basketball stuff here shortly. I have thoughts and concerns.
DeMarco Murray, your thoughts on after talking to him? I mean, obviously, George wrote about it.
The whole running back thing is just, I don't know. It's kind of fascinating to me because I think everybody looks at, obviously Jovantae Barnes and Gavin Sawchuk and what they were able to do a year ago, specifically, obviously, with Sawchuk in the Cheez-It Bowl. But I really want Marcus Major to be good. It's one of those things that I always cheer for Oklahoma City guys. I want to see that come to fruition, but physically he looks great. Like, you look at him out there and he looks phenomenal. It's just, is he going to be able to stay healthy? Is he going to be able to stay on the field? And even if he is, who knows if he is as good as Jovantae Barnes or Gavin Sawchuk? Because I think that you look at both of those guys, and obviously with Barnes, he flashed throughout the season multiple times, and then Sawchuk in the bowl game, I don't think that anybody could have been prepared. Gary, I think that you asked Levy the first time that we talked to him, basically like, did you have any idea that he was going to be able to do that? And I think Levy even was like, no, I don't think anybody thought he was going to be that good.
It was almost like, yeah, we look kind of stupid for not playing him more, didn't we? No, he didn't say that, but and here's the thing, though, about Marcus Major and me. Like, we thought that he was going to be this situational power back. We thought, like, okay, Eric Gray gets it. I remember all the way back to the Texas game. It's like you run the.
Oh, I remember the podcast that we were wanting more carries for Marcus Major.
Right. Well, in specific situations, goal line situations, short down yardage, stuff like that. But to me, that was his value. But is his value still that with a guy like Jovantae Barnes on the roster?
It's a good question. I was just looking up his stats. He's only played in 20 games in 4 years.
It's crazy.
Which, I mean, I think they've probably played probably over 40 games.
Some of it wasn't injury. Either. It was academic.
The classroom stuff before the Texas game, obviously.
But that's on like 5 or 6. 4 or 5, yeah. Then the other, it's been a shoulder, healthy, been a foot or a leg. Yep, it's been one thing after another.
To be honest, and correct me if I'm wrong, I thought Jovantae was the better running back last year. I mean, I thought he came in and did some different things.
He's like a baby bird to me. Like, he's on the verge of jumping out of the tree and flying. Like, he's just not there yet.
Better than Eric Gray?
No. I'm saying better than Jovantae was better than Marcus Major last year.
Jovantae's better than an injured Major. That's what we learned last year. Major can't be injured and play at a high level. Because when he wasn't injured in September, he was really good.
His best game remains, though, the Cotton Bowl against Florida.
Yeah. Who's
Which
better?
Dan Mullen apparently waved a white flag in. Yeah. So, guys, I mean, we were talking about Justin Harrington earlier. Like, is there anything more constant than Marcus Major looks great in the spring?
Yeah. I mean, you just add it to the bingo card for the spring, whatever.
You got to watch yourself, though, Josh, because eventually you start shitting on people like Dom Whaley, and they become good.
Well, hey. I say this, Kerry, you were kind of bailing, you were talking about like, I saw him situationally. I said after the Nebraska game last year, he needed to be the starter. Like, yep. I'll own that all day. Like, I was like, he's the better back. He's the guy. Clearly wildly wrong. Eric Gray had an incredible year. But like I don't know. Like I don't know how, because at some point, guys, don't you have to, as a coach, you say, even if we really like Marcus Major and we think Marcus Major is the best back we've got, can we rely on Marcus Major?
And can we take reps away from these young guys
yes.
at practice?
Man, I don't know. At some point, I feel, and I'm not saying it's his fault. Like, some of it is injury stuff. But, like, at some point, you are what your record says you are. Like, you are injury prone. You are unreliable. And I'm not saying that's his fault. I'm just saying it is what it is. And you've got 3 or 4 guys behind him that are, in my opinion, more talented, have produced more at a bigger level of competition where they played their high school ball than Marcus ever did at Millwood. And again, some of that's not on Marcus. We used to joke about they wouldn't give him the ball. And so there is a lot that is beyond his control, but at some point it all adds up to something.
Well, here's the thing. He looks good. He's put on good weight. Like, he's been in the weight room clearly. He at least deserves a chance to go out there and become unreliable again, to me.
Yeah,
I think that's fair.
Yeah, I agree, and I think he will. I mean, I think DeMarco likes him. I think obviously he likes DeMarco. Otherwise, I thought he was maybe a portal guy, to be honest, because the writing on the wall is there with Barnes and Sawchuk, it seems, those being the 1-2 guys. I also would not count out Hicks and Smothers just yet. Like, DeMarco doesn't strike me as someone that's just not going to play freshmen because they're freshmen. I mean, obviously we saw that last year with Jovantae. Like, he threw him into the fire. And both those guys look good in practice, especially Hicks. I mean, Hicks is just a massive human being, it looks like, at running back. But it's an interesting group. It's definitely a talented group. It's sort of like that offensive line. Like, you have some good names in there and some guys that you think are really talented. Just they haven't played a lot of football. I mean, that's the reality of it, at least at this level, other than Marcus Major. And like I said, he only played in 20 games in his career. So, I don't know. It's going to be an interesting group. And like I thought Barnes was kind of the front runner to be that top guy, the starter, and now he's out with whatever injury he has. And I wonder if that opens the door for a Gavin Sawchuk to kind of take that spot, or maybe Marcus Major.
The one thing I just don't know who the voice of that room's going to be, and I don't know if that's going to be necessary, but it feels really weird that there doesn't feel like there's a guy that's going to be leading the troops. That when things are going awry, he's going to get them back on track. And I know DeMarco kind of poked fun at that Monday, saying, "Hey, I'm a quiet guy too. It's a quiet room." But
Kennedy Brooks was never a rah guy, though.
But he could when he needed to be, just like Eric Gray learned to be that guy.
Can Marcus? I mean, I've never spoken to Marcus, so I don't know if
we don't get a chance to speak to Marcus.
We asked to speak to Marcus, and he declines.
Yeah, he declines to do this type of stuff.
Well, that's, I wouldn't say concerning, but that's your 5th-year senior. That's the guy in the room that should be that guy. I wonder. I don't know. Gavin seems pretty chatty. Maybe he could be someone. I don't know. I think it also, though, it goes back to, it needs to be whoever your best player is at that position. So who is going to be that guy? I think it's going to be a situation where they're running a lot of guys out there early in the season, and we don't really know who that top guy is till 3-4 games into it.
None of it will matter if you're not good up front, though.
Correct.
Go ahead, Josh.
Before we move off of it, the thing, and the DeMarco Murray, I watched the interview, and obviously you guys were there and taking it in, but he twice mentioned Caleb Hicks and his speed.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like,
which you've never seen. Yes.
Yeah, like I've seen him live, I've seen him on tape, I've seen him in camps. Like, I've never thought like, oh, his speed, like he has great feet. Like Caleb Hicks is a talented guy, he really is. But I've never watched him and been like, oh man, his speed is like a hallmark of his game. So like, there's a part of me that's like, A, did I miss that? Or B, like, did they find something in his mechanics? Like, okay, he's got to clean this up a little bit. Because, I mean, if he adds that element to his game, then you might be talking about, like, a pretty special player. Because that really, to me, was the one thing that he really didn't have. I thought he was more of like an Eric Gray type when you're talking about 40-yard dash speed and that kind of stuff, because he has great vision, great feet. Like you guys said, he's like a tight end in the lower body. He is a huge kid from the waist down. And so, you kind of wonder, like, how does that that work. But like I said, saying it once, you're like, okay, he's just talking up a freshman. But he comes back to it and says it again, and I was like, okay, this could be more interesting than I thought it was going to be, because I've been big on the Dalen Smothers bandwagon, and I love that Bob asked that question, like, what's it been like watching him shake that rust off?
One thing you can't find with that running back room, just seeing him out on practice, can't find any shrimps. Where you can find shrimps is Prime Shrimp, primeshrimp.com.
You look hard enough in the running back room, maybe.
Well, that's true. There might be one shrimp. No.
But, hey, he's fast, and that's okay.
I didn't think about it.
When we're on YouTube, we need to have like scorecards for carry segues. We need to have like a 1 to 10 scale.
Yes, primeshrimp.com, great sponsor of the pod. Go check it out. PRIME shrimp.com. Use that promo code U40. You get 25% off any order of 5 packs or more. The garlic herb butter shrimp, the New Orleans style barbecue shrimp, the signature Cajun. I know Josh and is it the signature Cajun or the Louisiana Boyle Cajun shrimp that the wife is a fan of most?
The signature. She's a real big fan of that one.
The French Quarter Alfredo, which is my personal favorite. Or if you're like Bob and you cannot, seasonings will kill you.
Correct.
Or mayonnaise. I'm going to tell you, Josh, I ordered lunch for the guys because the computer was having some problems.
I stand with Bob. Mayonnaise is disgusting.
False.
It has very specific moments. Like
with
I'm
turkey,
not a big fan.
it's magnificent.
Sure.
Yes, I agree with Carrie.
Anyway, he had to get, this was his sandwich, bread, turkey, and provolone. That was it. I said,
delicious.
Man.
I said,
there's got to be some wet. I got to have something on
that's
there.
kind of gross you saying that, but yeah, I agree. Anyway, Bob will only eat the unseasoned Simply shrimp because he wants to do whatever. What do you put on it? Salt and pepper, and that's it? Or just nothing?
Usually nothing.
Wow, you're the mayor of Flavortown.
I used to go on sandwiches. I used to go plain and dry, and I would take the meat, eat the meat, and then eat the bread. And I still do that sometimes.
That's psychotic.
Serial killer
that's
behavior right
psychotic
there.
behavior.
Anyway, get real food. Get restaurant quality. Not this shit that Eddie and Bob are eating. I don't know what's going on. Anyway, restaurant quality food under 10 minutes. You just take the bag, put it in boiling water. Boom, restaurant quality shrimp right on your plate. Primeshrimp.com. Use that promo code U40 for 25% off your order of $50 or more. Okay. Anything else that really we wanted to hit on for practices?
Good to see Gentry and Peyton Bowen back.
Yes. And Peyton Bowen, I mean, really both those guys, I mean, after what Peyton Bowen's gone through, it's great that his teammates were able to get down to the funeral and support him and be there for him. And with Gentry, of course, his teammates rallied around him at the hospital, but nice to know that as you were talking about earlier, Bob, because I didn't see it, he was going through drills. We weren't out there for contact, so we don't know exactly how much he's doing at this point. But it looks like he's close to being back.
Where last week he was always holding the pad or the bag. Now he was hitting. He was going through the drills as if he was really taking part in it again.
And we haven't really talked about corner, but he seems like a guy that could be a starter next year.
He could be. That second spot's open.
Yeah. I mean, it feels like it's him or, Jaden Davis wasn't practicing the other day. So, he's obviously a veteran guy. Kenai Walker was also not practicing. So it seems like Gentry, could maybe lock up that starting spot across from Woody.
Let me ask you a question. Is it psychotic or is it culture building? Is it endearing that even if you're hurt, Brent makes you dress out in full uniform and go to practice?
That is I had so many people in my mentions about Barnes being in full pads.
Yeah, they're like, it just happened when practice started, obviously.
And I was like, no.
They made him wear his pads in to put
Meg
a
was
boot
been
on.
on crutches.
Yeah, he was on a scooter. I mean,
yeah. We're talking about
That's what I'm saying.
Megwell's been on crutches all month.
Yeah. Wearing pads at every
uniform,
practice. Yeah. Jaden Davis was out there full pads. Kenai Walker wasn't, though, so he was the one guy. But anybody that's been injured is wearing their full pads. Maybe it's a mental thing. I don't know.
I mean, we need to ask Brent about that for sure.
Is it like a cone of shame or something? Like I don't want to know what that is.
Yeah. That would be really awesome if like you had like a cone that went over whatever body part was hurt. It's like shoulder. You just have this big cone coming out.
Brent's like, I don't actually think they're hurt, so we made him see that.
There you go.
I don't accept injuries, so
Brent's the new Bud Kilmer.
Doctors tell me that. Eddie, we got
a couple things.
Okay, we got some. Sorry, mail guys here. We got to send out some packages.
We should get the mail guy on the pod.
Mail guy, do you want to come on the podcast we're on right now? We should know mail guy's name. He's been our mail guy for a year and a half.
I kind of like not knowing.
You've gone too far now to ask. Me or George need to ask his name.
I kind of like not knowing. I think it's kind of endearing that we don't know his name.
He's the cool guy, though, right? Because
he's the good mail guy.
Okay.
Like he comes and asks us, "Do we
Yeah.
have anything today?" The other people just avoid us like the plague.
This is the pro move, guys. Like Carrie, when they walk in, you're like, "Have you met George?" And then George goes over, shakes hand, and he's like, "Hi, I'm
Seinfeld."
And then-
Oh yeah.
You do the Seinfeld. Oh, sorry, didn't work.
Unless we find out that his mother is a maitre d' at a restaurant, and then we have to go into the restroom or whatever and find out, like they did with Kramer.
That is. We have a lot of psychotic behavior.
Cosmo.
Like Eddie and I are just happy, just fine with him just being mail guy. Not,
Yeah,
like that would
that-
bother some people. Like I really should know his name.
No, that's fine. I don't want to know, actually. I don't want to know his name.
He doesn't want to know yours.
I'm
Yeah.
terrible
Well, he
with
knows
names.
me.
I'm bad with names. I'm okay with that.
Well, that's also like I've reached a point in my life. I just don't want to make any more friends. I'm happy with my friend group.
I
And
think
so,
that's
like,
a good
yes.
meeting new
that's a
people
very
is not
good
like I
quality.
Yeah, I just don't want to have new friends. I don't want to go through that experience.
I go 2 doors down in my neighborhood, and I have to think really hard about my neighbors' names. And I've met these people 27 times. Their children go to school with mine. Like, I know them. And I'm like, their names are so-and-so. Like, I have to think about it every time.
I do have a story for you about that. I have a neighbor. He's a big OU fan, and walks his dogs all the time. Always stops and talks, and I oblige him. I'm never a jerk to people in my neighborhood. And
Just the kids that come around door to door.
yes, I throw firecrackers at them, no matter time of year. Anyway,
Hear what he does to the Jehovah's Witness.
I never really knew his name. I thought I knew his name, but it would have embarrassed me to like say his name and it not had been the right name. So I actually went to the Cleveland County Assessor site and looked up who owned that house. So anyway, it was under some trust that wasn't his name, and so I was calling him the name under
man.
the trust.
Oh no.
And I had to find out from my other neighbor Gus that I was calling him the wrong name for like 6 months. And he
How do you
never
think he
corrected
handled
me.
that? He never said anything?
No.
See, I respect that though, because I would do the same thing. If someone called me the wrong name, I would just go with it.
Yeah.
Like I'm just not gonna correct them.
To bring balance to the force, one of my neighbors, in Houston, you see people know you stuff from time to time, and like I don't ever say anything. Like I'm not that guy. It's like, hey, you a member? Like I don't do that. So there's a guy that lives like 3 or 4 houses down from me, and he always walks his dogs. He's got an OU hat on, and I was like, oh, you're an OU fan, and he was like, oh, like my son-in-law gave me this hat or something. I'm like, okay, I think nothing of it. Move on. Well, a few days later, I'm walking my dogs, and I go past his house. Well, he's got, like, OU license plates. He's got, like, an OU, OU fan lives here.
So you thought you were like a Longhorn and you might burn
yeah.
his house down.
Yes.
He thought I was some asshole. And so I was like, well, I mean, I was going to, give you all the recruiting information you could ever want, but never mind, sir, you'll get nothing. So it was one of those things. But yeah, so that was the first time that somebody ever played me really cool about something like that.
You know what I love about our relationship in the way that our business is set up is like no one will hotbox me at a wedding for recruiting information because they know I'm not Josh and Josh does it all. But I do run into people from time to time that have hotboxed Josh at a wedding.
Yes.
And they don't ask recruiting questions. They want to ask Josh questions. So it's like some people, Josh, have developed a thing for you because of all the recruiting information you've given them over the years.
Yeah, I can only think of one person who really hotboxed me at a wedding, and it was someone we know. And if they're listening, they know exactly who I'm talking about. And I mean, I was like, man, I'm here with my wife, and like my best friend just got married. Like, I don't want to do this right now. And and I'm getting increasingly more whiskey driven. So I was like, I'm gonna snap here at some point. So I'm glad I did, and I managed to keep myself together. But that was that's not my area of expertise to be the schmoozy wedding guy.
Yeah, I get the worst is getting hotboxed at a funeral. That happened right over here at the Presbyterian Church to me.
Oh, jeez.
When one of my good buddies died. Weaver, you know it was you that hotboxed me. He's a friend, so it's like he didn't think anything of it, but it was kind of like, yeah, they might get this guy. Jim just died, so kind of thinking about that right now.
Everybody just asked me about Eddie. Working with Eddie.
Oh yeah, it's a big thing.
Yeah,
my friends do the shittiest things to me. I don't know about you guys, but like, they've been to like. I remember a long time ago in Norman, Carey, we had one of those like SoonerScoop functions before the spring game, and like fans came, and so a couple of my buddies had come with me, and they're just hanging out in the back watching, and they're like, so from then on, I would get questions like, so Josh, where's Oklahoma's third string punter? Is he healthy? Is he going to be ready for the game? Because they're like, these guys know more than you do, and I'm like, in some cases, yes. Like these guys, the detail, they were just mesmerized by our readers, like. The questions they'll ask. And then on signing day, I don't know what they do, but they basically get friends of theirs that I don't know to send me text messages like, hey, man, this is so-and-so from, Glenville North High School. I'm about ready to commit to OU. I'm going to sign here in about half an hour. I'm like, you assholes. I'll get 12 of those messages on signing day. Like my friends are the biggest douches about my job, and several of them listen, and I'm glad that they can hear that from me. So.
No, you get a lot of the what's Eddie really like. There is somebody else at Rivals. Yes. His name is Shay, and he covers Kansas basketball. And I think this was after you released the bus stop video or no? What video? I don't know what it was, but you were smoking in it, so I don't know. It might have been the.
Well, that was a prop.
It might. You had a prop cigarette.
Was that when you were at Johnny's?
No, that was the cigarette? Day. The Johnny's thing was the night after Lincoln Riley left. That was that Sunday evening after we did the emergency podcast.
Anyway, Shay calls me out of the blue one day. He goes, hey, you think you could introduce me to Eddie the next time I'm in Norman? I'm like, yeah. It's like he's not like unapproachable. And he was like, let me ask you a question. Is Eddie really like that in real life? And I was like, yeah, it's Eddie. But he is like, this was a guy that was like a huge Eddie fan. He like works in our business, and he was like, he was starstruck by Eddie.
That's the way it should be.
This makes him. What's funny is this makes Eddie really uncomfortable. Like he's so uncomfortable right now.
Yeah, I don't like it.
Well, and that is what's so funny. Like it is Eddie, but like Eddie publicly is like turned up to 9. Like it's everything Eddie is, and like. I've been on plenty of road trips with Eddie, like going, running around high school practices and that kind of stuff. And like, if you didn't, like, Eddie will just sit there and look at his phone. Like, it's not like I've got to be in your face all the time. Like, he doesn't have any of that. So like, it's just No,
Eddie will tell you he was
position.
Because Eddie and I were on road trips all the time when he first started here. Like, he's the one that taught me that young people have their heads buried in their phones all the time.
Yeah,
and I would say stuff to you about it all the time. I was like, what are you doing on your phone? Like,
surfing.
You're always on your phone. Like, what do you do? And I don't think it was Facebook. I think it's probably Instagram back then. That was about the only thing.
Yeah, that and Twitter. I mean, I think that it's a little bit of both.
And now we all do it, constantly. Get those screen time reports, and it's like, your viewing was down 25%.
I don't ever look at the
like,
screen time.
God.
That'd be too depressing.
Oh, yeah. Eddie definitely dragged me to Twitter. There's no question. I was like, okay, I guess I got to be on there all the time.
There was a time in college even that I kind of was like, this will never take off. This will never be a thing. I'm never going to get a Twitter account. And now that's all I do.
Now Elon's trying to charge everyone $1,000 a month.
I don't understand. So
I think he was trolling us.
What?
The Twitter Blue thing, because like he threatened to take away all the
I think everybody
check
that
marks.
already had one kept it. I don't know anybody that lost it.
Did the date already passed?
Yeah, it was supposed to be April 1.
But there's also April 15th.
Yeah.
Supposedly it's supposed to be only people that are verified will be on the For You page. So that's why I was like, does that mean we need to get it to be seen more? But then we kept our checks. So I don't know.
Well, the thing is, they want at minimum it's $1,000 a month for a business to be Twitter Blue.
That's insane.
And then you have to pay $50 for each person that works for you to keep them verified.
Well, I just clicked it, and they've changed the wording on the check.
Yeah.
I hadn't even looked at it. This account is verified because it's subscribed to Twitter Blue or is a legacy verified account. Like,
right.
I can assure you, I will not be paying that shit.
No.
Like, so that's crazy. I mean, maybe as a business we'll have to make that decision, but individually, I have zero interest in that.
You can now pay for it
Same.
on Instagram.
Yeah, I saw that. I was looking
it's
at
even
it.
more expensive.
It's $15.
$15 a month.
$14.99 a month.
Yeah.
Who cares?
SoonerScoop's just $9.99. What the hell? We got to raise our prices, I guess.
That's we're providing something, not just a blue check mark. You know, a place to hang out, talk terrible shit about. Well, I'm just
saying, if you're paying $15 just to get a check mark on your account, I mean that's
It's crazy.
That's ridiculous.
It's crazy. It doesn't make
They're
any
not providing you any service.
No.
Maybe we need to. You can pay an extra $5 to have a blue check mark on SoonerScoop.com or to have the gold. Like maybe that's
to not be a silver.
Exactly, a pure status thing.
This is ridiculous where we're headed. And the thing about it is, the reason that we're all on Twitter is not because of Twitter, but because of the other people that are on Twitter.
Yes.
Or Instagram or anything. Like, I don't use TikTok that much because I don't follow that many people on TikTok. I don't have enough people that... I follow a lot more people on Instagram and Reels and all that stuff. I just like it a lot better. But, there's people that have millions of TikTok
We should probably get into TikTok, to be honest, because I think it's going to be...
we will, yeah.
We're going to have to.
Even though
I'm not a China operative. I'm not a China operative, so I will cede that decision.
See, and I remember the first time I remember having any real awareness of TikTok was, again, Eddie at that damn camp in Southwest Oklahoma in 2020. It was me, Bob, and Eddie, and we were dying out in the heat, and we went and got some lunch. And Eddie was like, "Yeah, my TikTok," and he's just looking through these videos, like, "What the hell is happening?" I knew nothing about it.
That was during a time though where I was basically spending 10 hours a day looking at TikTok. I was super sucked into the.
I'm still there.
Yeah, it became a sickness there for a while.
The other thing too is recruits now have made their announcements on TikTok. They'll go live on there and do whatever.
Gone are the days where somebody makes an announcement. Was it? Arthur McGinnis submitted his announcement on Snapchat.
Yeah, he's the first Snapchat.
He's one of the first Snapchat guys ever.
Maybe the only.
Yeah, that's true.
People still have that?
Where the hell did he do this? We're
I know, right? What? Late Monday night on Snapchat? What?
Snapchat works awfully hard to get you to try and pay attention to it again. Because I think I might have deleted it.
Mess with it.
I don't either.
I think it's a young person's game.
I don't think I've ever even had an account.
It's a young person's game, man. That's how guys ask girls out for their numbers now. It's hey, can I get your Snap?
Oh,
it's
really?
It's dude, why don't you just ask for her phone number?
Because he wants nudes too.
Yeah.
George, you're starting down the path of the olds. Welcome,
I know,
sir. Why don't you ask for her phone number, Sonny?
On the landline.
I don't think that there's anybody out there that has landlines anymore, outside of
No,
people that maybe have Cox.
Did you see the TikTok about the babysitter?
No.
She was upset because she couldn't ever get a hold. The kids wouldn't ever answer their iPads or their iPhones, and she was like, "What we need is someone to invent a phone that stays in the house that everyone can hear ring." She was talking about a landline.
Yeah, that's amazing.
That went viral, and I swear to God, she planned that.
Oh, you think that she planned to go viral because of what she was saying?
Yeah, to be a dumb,
I think the only way to get kids' attention nowadays
Gen Z or whatever.
Probably fentanyl.
Okay. It's been a while since we've had a bleep in the podcast.
We've gone off the rails.
We've definitely gone off the rails.
We were talking about the cornerback room and got all the way into TikTok.
Well, it all goes hand in hand, okay?
It really does.
I think it's been a while since we've just done a bullshit pod, so I think we needed one.
It is spring. It's April.
It's very spring right now, and especially because it's like the middle of spring, like spring ball, because you don't have the game next week. It's in 2 weeks. It's a little bit weird how it feels like everything's spaced out more this year than it has been in the past, but maybe that's not the case.
It's not.
I think it's just because I'm still getting used to them going after spring break.
Yeah, that's a big part of our days are so much longer now.
Even though it's been like that for what now, 2 years?
No, this is just this is the first year because remember when they took over in the spring,
they had to go in the
still
morning.
had to go in the morning because Lincoln Riley had already set all their practices.
That's right.
It was beautiful. We were done by 1.
Yeah, I like that.
Beautiful.
I like that schedule. There's not very many things that I truly appreciate about Lincoln being gone, or there are a lot of things that I truly appreciate, but one of the things that I do miss
His
is
practice schedule.
The practice schedule, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, even during the season, everything was in the morning.
I think we might have. I was on a podcast yesterday on the Solid Verbal with those guys. I think that I have begun bridging a piece with Lincoln Riley. So
really,
people can look forward to that. Well, I'm not going to ruin the surprise. No, probably not. But I think that we are going to be moving forward with maybe a reunion of sorts.
I don't think I can rubber stamp that unless I ever get an apology.
I don't think you're ever going to get an
thing.
apology.
Dick. Okay. See, I still have hard feelings.
It's one of your all-time great calls.
My idea was a doom pod for the middle of spring, so it's better than that. It could have been worse, people.
That'll be in the summer.
I'll tell you what.
Don't worry.
It is approaching summer. It's been hot. It's a nice, cool day today, but it is time for no-show socks from Dead Soxy. Go check them out. DeadSoxy. DeadSoxy.com. Use that promo code SCOOP, and you will get 25% off your entire order. I've recently made a purchase. Their website's fantastic. Customer service is fantastic. Socks are fantastic. But they take care of you, man. I mean, their customer service is about as good as you will find out there. You have any issues, just buy the socks. They're guaranteed. You don't like them, you can send them back. But you're going to like them. They've got all kinds of the athletic cut that they have now. Those are really cool. The boardroom for your dress-up stuff. Your no-shows if you want to go out and play golf and get sun all the way down on the ankle or the cankle, whatever you may have. And they have lots of variety packs. They've got Crimson variety packs. Go check them out. 25% off of all of that. DeadSoxy.com. DeadSoxy. Use that promo code SCOOP, and you'll get 25% off your entire order. And as always, stay soxy. All right, so recruiting, Josh. Everybody gearing up for the big spring game and the recruiting visit, the recruiting weekend that will be. But it's kind of ramping up all over the country. You see some of the really big names starting to kind of get their tours going for the spring. And Oklahoma's no different.
Well, I mean, obviously, you got a big announcement coming up Saturday with Michael Hawkins.
Big announcement coming up.
Yeah, I mean, this you've got a couple that are here on the horizon with both Michael Hawkins and Aaron Flowers. The defensive back from a couple of guys from the Dallas area, DFW, and there is this week. I mean, the first guy that I know has announced his official visit being set up with OU is the Bennett Warren kid from here in Houston. So you get there is starting to be more and more movement and more that is just happening. I mean, there's a little bit more. I feel like we've had a few months where it's almost filler in OU, where you're watching Michigan and Ohio State and some of these other schools that are reeling in some commitments and kind of making waves, and OU sitting here with one commitment. Obviously, that's going to change. We're getting very close to the point where that really does start to move. And, the first big domino he announced, I think right before we started the pod here, Michael Hawkins, the quarterback from Frisco Emerson, formerly at Allen, he's going to announce at 2:45 on Saturday. So, we knew the date. It's the first time he's released the time. It's come down to Oklahoma and TCU. And, I've had a forecast in for Oklahoma for a while. I haven't heard anything to make me change that. But it's one of those things where I know TCU has kept fighting. They've tried to make it interesting, and then you have kind of this whole subplot of there being some conversation that Oklahoma's considering taking 2 quarterbacks in this class. Like that's a possibility. And what does that do to Hawkins? How does he feel about that? Where have they laid that out for him? So there's a lot of kind of moving parts here. But again, I still feel good about where Oklahoma is.
What would I guess Michael Hawkins, and we saw how important that was for Jackson Arnold to, jump in that 2023 class and keep everything together, specifically getting a quarterback out of the DFW area. Do you see that as a major importance, and especially with how talented that 2024, let's just call it North Texas group is? We can even add in all the guys down in the Denton area, or the Durant area and things like that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Michael Hawkins is potentially huge. And you throw in, I mean, it's not just Michael Hawkins. It's also Kevin Sperry. So you've got 2 quarterbacks, again, from that Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. And in both cases, you're kind of stretching it a little bit with Frisco and Prosper. But you are, the northern section there. But these guys are going to all the same camps as Bryant Wesco and, Dalen McCutcheon, Grayson Harris, all these guys from the kind of, central Texas to southern Oklahoma, where there's a lot of OU offers out in the receiver group. And not just that. I mean, guys, we know quarterback's not like, there are positions where like a linebacker wants to go to a class where there's good defensive linemen. Quarterbacks can go and be involved in everything. Like they recruit everybody. And so I think it's really important. And Hawkins, Michael's one of those guys. He's been around all these camps, the 7-on-7 circuit. He knows so many people. And then you throw in the very particular cherry in his case is Devon Mitchell, the big-time tight end that's now out in Southern California. You add that to the puzzle and what he could mean to Oklahoma potentially landing one of the best tight ends in the country. That's just huge. I mean, it's hard to overstate. So I think it's very big. And again, you get a chance with both of these guys for other guys to go, because I've been to the Texas State 7-on-7 plenty of times. There are guys that will walk over to a field and say, oh, where's Michael Hawkins playing? Where's Kevin Sperry playing? I want to go see them throw. And they just want to see, like, what's this guy about? Is he for real? And if you go put on a show, that sticks out to these guys.
Is Mitchell officially 2024 yet, or is that still a process?
That's still a process. Now, what I will say was interesting is I know, and I can't remember, I think it was 24/7. Somebody that was at the, I believe it was the Under Armour camp that was out in California last weekend. It was Under Armour and Nike, and they put out their list of like top performers and had Devon Mitchell listed as a 2024 tight end. I don't think that's an oversight. I think it's just something where he's trying to he's a smart kid. He's having to deal with transferring from Texas to California, all the way those credits work. I'm guessing he's having to work to get all his ducks in a row and making sure it's all going to work out the way he wants it to. But my absolute expectation is he will be on a college campus in the 2024 season, because it's just that seems to be what he wants to do. And that's been basically the rumor for 6 months now. Like, I mean, it's been going around for a while. And with the transfer, I've got to think that was part of it, is he had some ability to maybe graduate a little quicker in California than he would have staying at Allen or in the Dallas area.
Well, that answered my question of why the hell would you transfer if you're going to graduate basically in 5 months anyways. So never mind.
Well, I mean, you know how it is in California, Eddie. They got no rules out there. They just do whatever. So you want to graduate, son? Graduate.
Well, that's part of the liberal agenda that is being pushed by Gavin Newsom.
Exactly. They don't have to earn their degree or diplomas out there. It's brutal.
Although I am a Los Alamitos, somewhat of a booster. I went out there and participated in Malachi Nelson's commitment ceremony for Oklahoma way back when. So yeah, that's good.
And I know you enjoyed that. My impression, though, Eddie, is you're really wanting them to pick up recruiting in the Phoenix area because,
yes,
yeah, there's a lot for you to see out in Phoenix. So, yeah.
Specifically Scottsdale. I think that would be a big win for everybody. I'll kind of lead that charge.
Sure. But no, I would say one of the other notes of the week was probably the commitment of James Peoples, the running back from San Antonio, committing to Ohio State. I wonder if, because you're seeing it right now at quarterback where you're starting to see dominoes fall, like, this guy commits, so it leaves, this school's got to scramble and this school's got to figure out who they're going to take, and the quarterbacks are running out of options as well. Like, it's just kind of a game of musical chairs. I think you're starting to see that happen at running back, because I know with Ohio State taking Peoples, it has probably limited their ability to take a guy from Pennsylvania that they were pretty high on that's probably going to go to Penn State, and that will start a chain reaction. So there's a lot happening. And again, with Oklahoma having so many irons in the fire at running back, I've got to think before long we see somebody jump in the boat with DeMarco Murray. And one of the interesting ones, the story's already out. We'll have it on the front page a little later for people that just kind of peruse SoonerScoop and don't go venturing out too much. Nathaniel Frazier, running back from Mater Dei, again out in Southern California, talked, at great length with Adam Gorney about how much he loves the Dallas Cowboys and how much DeMarco Murray is memorable to him. And like he couldn't even believe that DeMarco Murray was calling him on the phone. He didn't save it as like OU coach DeMarco Murray. It was like Dallas Cowboys legend DeMarco Murray or something like that. It's saved in his phone. So like it's a very meaningful thing. OU will probably get a visit from him. And I'll tell you, as a guy that is a later offer, he doesn't look like a plan B guy on tape to me. When I watch him, that's a dude with home run ability, playing at arguably the best program in the country. Oklahoma could do a lot worse than to drag that kid out from California.
Josh, is DeMarco starting to make a case for one of the better, if not the best, recruiter on staff right now in terms of what he's been able to bring in?
I think he could get there. To me, when you get into that conversation, you've got to land one of the nationally elite guys. Like, yeah. I'm talking top 5 positionally, probably a top 20 overall player. Like, because you talk about the guy at Ohio State whose name's going to escape me. He's outstanding. They get a guy every year. The running backs coach at Georgia, who again, all these names are leaving me. I literally was talking about this earlier.
Tony Alford is the Ohio State running back coach.
And Georgia, I can't think of it. But, those are two of the really – but, as far as like a young and up-and-coming guy that you can kind of see on that trajectory, yeah, DeMarco Murray's absolutely in there. What's interesting is the other guy that's making that case, Tashard Choice at Texas. Tashard Choice, obviously landed a big-time guy last year out of Florida, the nation's #1 back. Look, I know there's been a prediction put in this week that they're going to land the #1 back in the country this year, a kid named Jarrett Gibson. It's going to be interesting to see a couple of former OU backs that are obviously going to eventually get into some battles. They haven't really crossed paths too much yet, but you're going to see that more and more. But again, if Oklahoma can go out and land, some gathering of Stacey Gage, Caden Durham, Tavani Mazzell, they're going to be really good at back. I think it's going to be a good group. But at some point, like I know Caden Durham has long been assumed, including by me, as a Oklahoma guy, and I think that's what'll happen. But LSU's making it interesting. They're making a real run, and they want to get everybody at Duncanville, and there's a lot of connection there. So we'll see where that goes. But I like I said, I think DeMarco, whatever he comes out with, it's going to be a good group. But to get into that next range, you've got to go beat the Alabamas, the Georgias, the Ohio States. Like, you've got to go win one of those battles.
Dale McGee, the coach at Georgia.
Yes. Yep, absolutely. And he is absolutely outstanding. And I know people say, oh, it's Georgia. You don't have to – like, Georgia, every guy you're recruiting, you're battling the best programs in the country. Like, because you are going for the absolute elite dudes.
Well, the thing about running back is it's about evaluation as well. Because
sure.
There's so many guys that could look like great running backs in high school.
Well, and it's one of those things too where I was thinking about this morning actually, because I was kind of having this conversation in my head. I think it's one of those positions like it always gets named as like one of the easiest to evaluate, and I think that's fair. I think where it gets tricky is can you really differentiate a good back from a great back? Like,
right.
I think that's trickier than people think it is, because, there'll be a guy that's got one great skill and it really pops on tape. And then, but can he catch? Is he good between the tackles? What's his vision like? I mean, there are things that, people will attack. It's very much like a linebacker that hits really, is a big hitter. Everybody's like, oh, he's great. There's more to it than that. That's not all there is to this game, and people can kind of gravitate. And like I said, I think differentiating good from great can be hard sometimes.
It just feels like he's kind of has rebuilt that room a little bit the last couple of years when you talk about bringing in two guys like Barnes and Sawchuk, and then this year Hicks and Smothers. Feels like he's kind of getting that room back to where he wants it to be, because they kind of had to piece it together there his first couple years. So
there's no question. And I mean, and again, I don't want anybody to misunderstand. I think DeMarco Murray has a huge future. I've joked before about, it wouldn't shock me if someday, he's in a conversation to be OU's head coach. I think he has those kind of vibes and quality about him. But at the same time, to be on that level, you just, because for me, for example, Miguel Chavis, he entered the chat. When you go get PJ Adebawore and we see what he's, likely to become, okay. That's when you start that conversation. Now, the difference is DeMarco's landed a bunch of solid guys, and, I don't know, outside of PJ, we're going to have to see where this goes for Miguel Chavis. But he's obviously got one really big, I guess, big fish in the boat, you'd say.
It's also kind of incredible when you're talking about Miguel Chavis and DeMarco Murray and just how different those two are personality-wise. Chavis is off the wall, kind of says anything and everything, and then you have DeMarco, who's
very reserved,
very, very quiet, very reserved, almost guarded in a way of what he says about his position, as opposed to Chavis, who, I think is very open. He jumped in to the question or the Q&A with Trace Ford on Tuesday. So, on Monday. It's fascinating how they're both doing very, very well on the recruiting trail, and obviously I think a little bit of that has to do with just their ability to relate to a lot of guys.
Yeah.
But they kind of go about it in different ways.
DeMarco's also only 35 years old, so he's still so young in this business.
Oh, sure.
Well, and it's we can talk about he's been a position coach longer than Chavis. Chavis has been coaching longer than DeMarco has. It's a different thing. Miguel had to go from a long time being a kind of a support guy at Clemson to being where he is now, while DeMarco's really just pretty much learned on the job.
All right. Do we want to move on to talk a little baseball, Eddie? Or you got some?
Yeah, we can.
It was nice.
I was just trying to rack my brain real quick if there was anything else out there on the
I don't want to
in
get
the recruiting
called out
world.
for leaving something
just,
big out there.
Outside of the Michael Hawkins thing, Josh, it just doesn't feel like. And I guess it's because a lot of these guys are going to be taking visits here over the course of the next month, and then you lead into summer and all that kind of stuff.
Game.
You just kind of got to wait right now. And I know that that's not the sexiest thing in the entire world, but it's the truth.
Yeah, and again, it's people are mistaking again, and I know I keep having to say this. People are mistaking the lack of commitments for lack of momentum. That's not the way. I can say, and I should tell everybody, I will be gone next week, so commitments are probably just going to come out of the woodwork. That's the way this always seems to friggin' work. But you look at guys like Jaden Hardy, Rivals 250 defender, Peyton Pierce, a Rivals 100 linebacker that I think OU's in a dogfight with Ohio State for, Nigel Smith, a big-time defensive lineman out of Melissa that I think OU probably leads for, David Stone. I think there's some good momentum with David Stone and OU right now. So there, you're talking about a bunch of premier guys, but when you get in to this premier recruiting, especially on the defensive side of the ball, where the elite guys are so clearly separated and are found, because guys, we've talked about this before, on offense, you can find guys that will fit a system and can play a scheme, maybe not the 5-star wide receivers, but they can be very effective. I mean, like we've seen plenty of them at Oklahoma, the Jalen Saunders, the Marquise Browns, guys that weren't huge recruits, but had great careers because there was a good scheme around them. You can do that some offensively. Defensively, you pretty much have the goods or you don't have the goods. Like there's no real, you can't mask it very well. And so, at least not to any real degree and at the level that Oklahoma wants to be at. So when you get into those kind of battles, they just run longer. They just do, because everybody's in the game and everybody's fighting to the last breath. So I think Oklahoma's in a good spot. I think it's going to be okay. I think you'll see, again, if Hawkins goes like I think it will Saturday, maybe they start building some momentum. But there are plenty of guys out there that I think OU's in good shape with. And one of my favorites in the whole class is the Joseph Jonah Ajanye kid from north of Houston in Conroe. That is, I think, I'm not saying he's PJ Adebawore, but is that kind of guy that when OU offered him, everybody was like, oh, yeah, that's pretty good. And then I turn on the tape, and I'm like, holy shit, he's great. So, like,
Joseph Jonah Ajanye?
Joseph Jonah Ajanye.
Ajanye.
Yeah.
Just call him Joe.
He is from Conroe Oak Ridge. And when I talked to him, I really thought it was going to come down to OU and A&M, because he talked a lot about how much he loved OU, really loved what he saw there. You could tell they hit it out of the park with his visit. But his mom talked a lot about proximity. Well, he talked to our guy Nick Harris recently, and it just sounded like A&M was kind of slipping, wasn't really that involved, and it might come down to OU and Oregon. Okay, Mama might sign off on Oklahoma. I don't know if she's going to sign off on a 4-hour plane flight and all the travel to get to Eugene, Oregon. So I think Oklahoma's in a pretty good spot there, even though he has some connections. Oregon, not surprisingly, just hired one of the coaches from that staff at Oak Ridge to be a player relations guy at Oregon. So that, I'm sure it had nothing to do with them having two or three guys that Oregon's offered on their roster. So it'll be a fight. But I like where Oklahoma is. I think they're doing really well. They're, again, same thing we saw last year, building relationships, developing these guys and making them comfortable with the coaching staff. And these guys know the deal. They know if they decide it's over and they need to, be all in. And so I think you're seeing some patience from a lot of these guys. But again, I don't take it as a negative at all.
That's what's so funny when we were talking, even going back into last year, not to reopen old wounds, but talking about somebody like a David Hicks, and everybody got pissed off about how all of that went down, which obviously, I think that there are reasons, that everybody was so angry about that. But then you get the, a minority of the fan base that goes, well, they should just stop recruiting these types of kids. And it's like, well, now wait a second. You bitch about not getting the 5-star kid, but when you go through these, battles in these for the big time guys, you're gonna have to go and play the game a little bit. It just is always. I've always gotten a little bit of a kick out of the idea that fans want to go get these 5-star kids and then not have to basically put up with the quote unquote BS that comes with it.
Well, the thing to remind yourself,
and there's there's a line obviously between what's normal BS and then maybe some of the stuff that went down with Hicks or whoever.
But think about signing day. When you read the stories, you watch the ESPN's broadcast or wherever you kind of watch your signing day stuff, there's always Alabama, Georgia, Clemson, all these schools that you've watched win national titles are the ones that are in these recruitments. That's not an accident, because those elite guys that ESPN wants to put on TV, A, they can wait as long as they damn well please, and B, Alabama and Georgia and those schools, they'll wait for them because they're the best. Those are the players they want. So it's just the way it goes. You're going to have to wait longer for elite prospects. If you want to have, guys, you can look at some of the team rankings right now. It's bizarre because it's schools that you're like, that has no business being there. I don't know what they're where do they even get off thinking they belong on this list? And it's some school that's got 14 commitments. But they're Pitt's in the top 10 right now. Pitt's got 10 commitments, has an average star rating of 3.2. If that was OU fans, they'd be pissed. That's not how you win at that level. Alabama has 4 commitments right now. It's just, It's not going to work. The only school that we're used to seeing up there is Georgia, and Georgia's just rolling right now. So that's going to happen. But this class will be very good. I think there's a chance that it could outrank last year's class if things go just right. I don't think it'll probably play that way, but because it's just tough to land that many 5 stars. But again, this is going to be a good group that I think will have a lot of help, especially along the defensive line, which, anybody that's listened to this podcast for more than a minute knows we think OU needs there's more need for talent there than anywhere else on that roster.
Josh, did you enjoy David Stone's April Fool's joke?
I might have sent him a Murtaugh gif, like I'm too old for this shit. So, and we laughed a little bit about that. But no, I mean, for those that don't know, David Stone on April 1st sends out a tweet like, I've committed to Oklahoma, or David Stone commits to Oklahoma, a little graphic. Guys, I'd be interested to hear your thought. Like, I wonder sometimes if I'm too close to it. That reads like I feel like he wouldn't do that to a school he was never going to go to. Like, I don't think he's going to do that to, I don't know. Like, again, I think he's going to go to Oklahoma, so it's more fun to play that game. But I
think if he did it with,
I just don't see you mess around if you're going to do that, and then 6 months from now be like, and I'm going to this completely different school and just, have pissed off a whole fan base that is also your home state.
I think if he did it with Michigan State, it would have rubbed people the wrong way, because I think that's how they would have viewed it. It's like, oh, he likes Michigan State. I think it was a more like he likes Oklahoma a lot.
I think it was. I read it more as, this is the team everyone expects me to commit to, so I'm going to do this because it'll be more believable. But maybe I'm overthinking it.
No, I mean, we all are 100%. I mean, I know David's a goofy dude. Like, I guarantee he was just having some fun, but like subconsciously there's just part of me that's like that. I just don't think you do that if Oklahoma's not where I think they are.
By the way, there's something that we need to address on this pod that wasn't addressed a week ago. And that is one, I hate to keep singing his praises today, but we got to talk about the Sam Bradford, Eddie Radosevich story.
I mean, it's a factual depiction of what happened.
Which I only want to bring it up because I will say this, like, for all the Sam knows you just like I do, like, for all the jokester stuff that people think, like, you are a serious dude, and like you're like, I would say that we're kind of like a locker room here, like. Eddie will threaten to go out and murder someone if he has to. Like, if he gets that fired up about things, like, he cares about. But I don't
say it as, I think that's the best way to say it. I don't. I guess very sarcastic is probably the best way to say it.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a good story. I appreciated Eric doing that. He didn't have to, and it was also kind of funny that.
And if people don't know what we're talking about, they're not on Twitter. Let me lay it out for you. So Eric Bailey was doing a story on Sam Bradford going into the Native American Hall of Fame. Was that?
Yeah, which is actually really cool, and I think it is something that's important to Sam.
And he asked him a side question about Eddie. He asked for his best Eddie story, and the story wasn't. I really want the mailbox stories to come out someday. Like, just.
I don't know if Sam was ever with us when we were doing the mailbox stuff. That was when we were with the group of guys that we like to mix it up a little bit.
Okay, I think that's a good way to put it. Anyway, I was hoping it would be something like that, or something where Eddie was running from the cops or something. It turned out to be a story about how you lost your first 3, or you started at 1-4. Was that it, or you 0-3?
I think we started out 1-4 my senior year, and Sam's junior year.
He said that you lost a game that you had no business losing.
Yeah, I can't remember who the game was to. We tried to talk this out the other day, and I couldn't remember. It might have been Putnam City, to be honest with you.
And so you guys were riding the bus back, and you were having a discussion with each other, like, how do we fix this? We've got to do something to fix this.
We saved the season.
And then Eddie Radosevich got up in front of the entire team and gave a impassioned speech, and everyone took it so to heart that you turned around your entire season.
Yeah, and we went to the state semifinals and got beat by Jinx, just like everybody else on the west side of the state has. But we did take a lead with like 2.5 minutes left, and think the guy, it was Freddie Carolina and Andrew Brewer were the wide receiver running back combo. I don't know if you remember them, Josh, up at Jinx.
Oh, I do. 100%.
Philip Dillard was on that team. They were really, really good.
No one gave you all a chance, and I include myself in that game. I thought you had no chance to win that game. So
Stephen Hogue kicked a field goal with like 1:30 left to take a. We're going full high school Hondo hero here. But yeah, it was a good trip down memory lane. A lot of really good memories with that
Eddie,
team. We were pretty damn good. Outside, obviously Sam, but Deji Kareem, who played in the league for a couple years, went to Southern Illinois. There's a bunch of guys that played small school football, and then a couple other D1 guys. Kenny Brown went to A&M.
Yeah.
Myron McKinney went to Oklahoma State for a little bit of a cup of coffee up there in Stillwater. So it was a good group. We had a really good junior, senior kind of mashed class.
Well, that is kind of like what I've gotten to know you to a T. So much so, I'll announce something here right now that we haven't mentioned. Eddie is a part owner of SoonerScoop now.
Thank you. No, I'm
know. Holy hell! What happened?
No, I'm excited about the future. Obviously, with SoonerScoop, we're only going to continue to get bigger, and I think with the office and everything that's come together with Bob and George coming in, and it's kind of crazy. It truly is.
Really big stuff on the horizon.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that, just going into the summer months and obviously into next season and the full year, I'm excited about the future and excited to get the studio and all that kind of stuff up and running. And it's kind of crazy.
He's going to kill me if I don't get it done pretty soon.
Eddie, I'd like to know who's breathing down your neck more about it, Eddie or myself? Because I know I'm on you.
Well, I'm probably because I'm here and you're there. We're breathing like double heavy, I guess, is probably one of the ways to say it.
Sounds kind of hot.
Yeah, well, I mean, it could be in Carrie's porn searches here coming up over the next couple. I am excited about it, and I appreciate it. And, I think that it's kind of crazy that we've been doing this now for almost 10, 11, 12 years now since I graduated college, which is kind of incredible.
I mean, Eddie has the ultimate story. He went from throwing up in his boss's car to having equity in the company.
Yeah. I mean, that's a fact. It is a fact.
That is story arc. Do you think that story arc exists anywhere else in the world? Like, I don't think so.
Which probably tells us there's something seriously wrong with our company.
Well, maybe.
Well,
not just in my car, but in my brand new Lexus. Yeah.
I mean, Monica Lewinsky went from sucking the dick of the president to I don't know what she's doing. I don't know if she owns a company anymore. We don't even know how that
story ends.
Well, that was just, I'm looking for other examples. But yeah, I think a lot of people should look up to me and follow what I have done. And half of that story is, well, I don't even know about half of it. I would say 80% of it is John Shin's fault for force feeding me tequila.
Well, it was your first time in the hospitality room at the Fiesta Bowl.
Well, the first and last. Because I think the next time, we went back, but that was for the Insight Bowl.
I mean, the Fiesta Bowl is not a good rookie hospitality room. I mean,
I think it's probably better than going to New Orleans.
Well, yeah, but they don't really have... The hospitality room is outside the hotel in New Orleans.
The hospitality room is on Bourbon Street, yes.
Yes. You have Bourbon Street in walking distance. They don't need to have a hospitality room.
That's true.
But, no, and also, Josh, you don't know this. I made Eddie a member as my thanks. Made him a member of the Luxury Watch Club.
Got to watch now. I'm a watch guy. I'm a watch guy.
Has anyone ever noticed the watch at all, ever, to this day?
Yeah, actually, there was somebody, and it was at the Mahogany Bar. And they were like, what kind of watch is that? And I was like, I don't know. And then I did one of those moves to them.
See, this is the reward, kids, for feigning interest in your boss's bullshit. I don't feign any interest, so Carrie's like, he gets no damn watch.
No,
I have no relationship.
It's a great looking watch. I wear it all the time now.
It is a Hodinkee limited edition Mito.
That's right.
Ocean Star.
That's right.
And it will, as long as you keep it in good shape, it should hold its value.
That's a word jumble. But I will say, after Eddie's speech, I am feeling much like the Putnam City North Panthers of 2004 after a 45-26 loss to Mustang. That was a tough one on September 24th. Eddie, found the old schedule.
Oh, okay. What were the first 4 games?
Edmond North 21-9 loss on a Thursday night.
Yes.
I don't want to bring up the one victory. It might have been over a team in blue and gold, and we're just going to skip right past that.
Let's be honest, they were not good. I mean, they were like bad.
And then lost to Santa Fe 20-6. That would have been what, a young Reggie Smith?
No, Reggie was my age. He had 2 interceptions and he returned 1 for a touchdown.
Right?
Yeah,
that's right. He was 03. That's right.
No,
that's
05.
Right.
Reggie's 05.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking of the season. That's where I'm going.
Yeah.
Okay. And then Mustang lost 45-26, then ripped off 9 wins in a row, it looks like.
Yeah, it must have been after the Mustang game then.
Mm-hmm. I mean, now, beat Grant, beat Putnam City. Now, did beat...
Hey, I played in the Grant game, all right? So if that tells you anything about it.
You did beat Lawton, and that was back when Lawton was
started that game.
Messed with.
I started that game. That was down in Cameron on I want to say it was a Thursday as well.
Oh, that field, man.
That
had to be rock hard when you were playing on it.
We would wear tennis shoes, instead of wearing cleats, you would wear.
There wasn't enough turf to dig into.
You would literally wear basketball shoes out there.
That was a nasty field.
We also went down. That was my junior year. Sam's sophomore year, we went down there, and that's when he got the concussion in the first round. And DJ Wolf ran for we could probably find it. I bet he ran for 270, 275. Lawton was pretty good back then.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, real quick before we get out of here, baseball got a split with Stanford.
The weirdest, most baseball series of all time.
Right?
You got to see how much firepower Stanford had, and then you got to see...
Yeah, Stanford's really, really good.
Yeah.
They are going to not only be competing for the Pac-12 championship, I think that they'll be a regional type.
They're kind of like an Ole Miss type
Alto
team last year. They just
Skip,
knocked the shit out of the
Arkansas. Skip said it multiple times throughout the weekend. They remind him a lot of OU's team last year.
Mm-hmm.
A bunch of guys that have kind of been around the block before. They can hit the shit out of the baseball. I think that, and they're big, too. They're, big physical guys. Braden Montgomery, the right fielder, he's going to be a pro prospect. There's a number of guys that are really good, and then they have a really good staff. They're not very deep in the bullpen, but they put up 23-16 in the first and the fourth game, and OU still gets out of there with a split, a 2-0 win on Saturday and then a 6-5 win. Or Friday, a 2-0 win, and then a 6-5 win on Saturday in the 2 middle games. So, it's an improvement. I think that it's going to be interesting to see how they can build off of that because you went up to Tulsa on Tuesday night this week, beat ORU, actually scored the most runs in Tulsa against Oral Roberts since 1997. They won 12-2. Bryce Madron's starting to hit the ball really well, 12 for 20 last week, 9 RBIs, 5 walks, and I don't know. It's starting to maybe come into form of what you expected this team to look like offensively, and I don't think it's a coincidence that all of this is happening as they're getting guys healthy again. I mean, Kendall Pettis is back in the lineup daily now after spending some time out, or at least out of the field. He was hitting a little bit at DH, but he had a spider bite that has kept him out. Wallace Clark's starting to get more healthy with back spasms. Easton Carmichael, kind of the same thing. And then, the most interesting news out of Tuesday night, outside of the offensive explosion, was just the fact that Kel Davis is now in the bullpen, who's been their Friday night starter. I think it's a move. If it works, it could be really good. He could end up being that type of, is he going to be a long relief guy maybe on a Saturday or a Friday or Sunday and come in and be able to eat up 2 or 3 innings on the back end? And somewhat kind of be that Trevin Michael from a year ago as a guy that used to be a starter, and you can ask him to start at some point, but that bumps everybody up now in the rotation. I think Braxton Dothit's going to be your Friday night guy. Jamie Hitt on Saturdays, and then it's kind of a question mark about what they're going to do on Sunday. But they need to go down to Baylor. Baylor's not a good baseball team. They need to go down there and win at least 2 or 3, if not sweep. And if you can do that, and you go 3-1 or 4-0 this week, then you kind of set up for what is going to be a really interesting back half of the schedule in the Big 12 play, with Tech coming in a week from this weekend, and then the week of the spring game, they go down to Austin to play Texas. So that's kind of where things are at. You know, they've been really bad at times, and they've also looked really good. So we'll see. It's kind of they're about where they were a year ago, kind of in that same mold. They don't have Cade Horton though, waiting in the wings, and I don't think they have a Jake Bennett, and I don't think that they have a David Sandlin. So it'll be interesting to see how the rest of the season goes.
All right, softball coming up against Texas Tech this weekend at home. Congratulations to the women's gymnastics team as they're on to the national championships after winning their regional. So a lot of stuff going on, a lot of moving pieces, spring practice going on, spring game coming up, but we're looking forward to heading back out to practice tonight. Then next week, lots of stuff going on. Now, Josh, you said it was next week that you're gone or the week after?
Next week I'll be gone.
Okay.
So so I am in and one of those deals where I am literally out of pocket. So again, there will be commitments coming in and it's just going to be a shit show. I'm just sure of it.
Bob, what is going on with basketball? Do they still field a basketball team here at the school?
No, what Porter Moser's going to have to do is build a team again. He's not in building a program phase just yet. As we talked about, Grant Sherfield announced during the pod. Jalen Hill went official with his announcement during the pod. I think Hill's the first real blow. I think a lot of the other guys you could find very workable ways of saying, okay, this is actually going to be better for OU in the long run. Jalen Hill was a piece that Porter wanted to come back. That's going to be something. It'll be really hard to find that type of player in the portal. And now they've got 5 open spots to play with. I know they're going to have some visits here lined up the next couple weeks, but it's a lot more than what Porter was hoping for. And he has to come to the reality that you are building a team every year because that's just how it goes now.
Let me ask you this. With Jalen Hill, I know we talked earlier and there was some talk about, maybe he could stay, maybe he was going to transfer. Do you think this answers the question that he's definitely not coming back to Oklahoma next year?
No. No.
You think he could possibly come back?
Yeah.
Still?
I mean, he's entering the draft. He's entering the portal. He could just come back. There's varying degrees of factors like what's going to make him decide what he ultimately does. If it's just a blow because I know Porter tried, I know that staff tried so hard just to have him say, I'm going to stay here no matter what. Now he's putting himself out there. I don't think, if he wanted to come back to OU, I think Porter would take him back in a heartbeat. But now we know that at least Jalen is looking around.
And they'll probably have to win an NIL battle to get him back, I would assume.
Yes.
Amazing how that works.
I just want to see OU connected to guys. Like I told you this morning, it's like every day that I get on Twitter, it's like, Oklahoma State's reached out to this. Oklahoma State's reached out to this. And I know that a lot of that is probably just, Mike Boynton telling John Rothstein or whoever. Mm-hmm. But I just want I want to feel like they're trying to improve this roster, even though I know and trust that they are.
Yeah, I'm still doing the follows because even the contact doesn't do much for me. But when I see like Ryan Humphrey or Matt Gordon, Clayton Custom, like if they all as a group start following that guy, okay, this is something to really get serious about. And there's probably like 5 to 10 at this point that you can kind of watch for. And unfortunately, with basketball, they don't call the shots. If those guys go to some other school and they commit, that's what's going to happen. It's kind of like OU football can call the shots a lot. OU basketball is not in that
Do you
position.
think that they're also is there a concern amongst guys just with the style and having to bring them in, like the style of play?
It'd be a better question for some of the guys that decide to come in. But who Porter Moser is. If you want in to be a part of this, and he'll point to the Loyola track record just like Venables will point to the Clemson track record saying, I know
subscribe a lot more to the Clemson track record than I do.
I know how to get this done.
Winning 4 or 5 games in the NCAA tournament and having Sister Jean on your side.
That's going to do it. We'll be back again. Appreciate everybody listening, and plenty more spring coverage to come, so keep checking it out at SoonerScoop.com. Appreciate everybody listening. Sooner Scoop store still got the softball shirts in stock. Still got. It's a great time to start loading up on some other shirts as well. We got the unofficial 40 merch in stock as well. So go check that out as well. But softball shirts starting to run low on stock again. Get those while you can. SoonerScoopStore.com. Thanks, everybody, for listening. We'll be back again next week for another edition of the Unofficial 40 podcast right here on SoonerScoop.com.